Hello, I'm Kamali, taking you through some of the things people are talking about and some of the stuff they're sharing around the world on NewsFeed today.
Excuse me, that sounds like a fire alarm here. We'll keep you posted on that. But to have projectiles...
CNN reports on, then becomes part of the story as pipe bombs terrorize high-profile people who've criticized President Donald Trump. MBS jokes about kidnapping the guy the world accused him of kidnapping as the world waits for answers about murdered journalist Jamal Khashoggi. Video going viral shows some contenders for the dumbest criminals ever. And animals are doing stuff on Antarctica. We'll show you some of the furry cute ones. Now, top of our newsfeed, hashtag MAGA bomber. That's how Twitter is talking about a moment which has shocked the US. Letter bombs, which is an all-American trope in itself, were delivered to a number of Democrats. First George Soros, then the Obamas, then the Clintons, all got packages that could have exploded, but luckily for them, they didn't. And there were others, most recently the actor Robert De Niro. There have been 8 found so far. And as events were breaking, CNN found itself as part of the story.
Explosive devices, and to have projectiles, I mean, that's a... Excuse me, that sounds like a fire alarm here. We'll keep you posted on that. But to have projectiles, that is a feature you will often see in bombs that terrorists use in Afghanistan and elsewhere. ISIS has used. Tom Fuentes, if you're still hearing us here, they're connected now. The bombs targeting Soros, Clinton, Obama, and the White House.
Yeah. We're going to jump in. There's a fire alarm here.
You might have heard it in the background. We're going to find out what the latest is
we'll
here
be right back.
at CNN. We're going to be right back.
Now, all this happened weeks from the US midterm elections, which will be a very important test of Trump's presidency. And this has led to hand-wringing and head-shaking and introspection from voters and journalists and politicians and from the president himself.
As part of a larger national effort to bridge our divides and bring people together, the media also has a responsibility to set a civil tone and to stop the endless hostility and constant negative and oftentimes false attacks and stories. Have to do it.
Huh. Strange that, considering this is the same man who's been saying stuff like this for the past 2 years.
They are the fake, disgusting news. A few days ago, I called the fake news the enemy of the people, and they are. They are the enemy of the people. And I want you all to know that we are fighting the fake news. It's fake, phony, fake.
Give us a question.
Don't be
You're
rude.
attacking us. Can you give us a question?
Don't be rude.
Can you
no,
give
I'm
us
not
a
going to give you a
question?
question. I'm not going to give you a question.
Can you stay categorically?
You are fake news.
Sir,
go ahead.
Can you stay?
And how much is that rhetoric from Trump about the media and the left of politics the reason that someone took it upon themselves to send those bombs, one of which went to CNN, which is why that fire alarm was going off that you saw earlier. And one of the guys who's advised presidents going back to Ronald Reagan thinks Trump has a lot to answer for.
He hasn't taken an ounce of responsibility or accountability for this whole thing. And I think what he needs to understand is Donald Trump unleashed the dogs of hatred in this country from the day he's declared he was running for president. And they've been snarling and barking at each other ever since. And it's just inevitable. There are going to be acts of violence that grow out of that.
And some of the online chatter from those on the right of politics in the US has been typically conspiratorial, calling these attempted bombings false flags. Here are a couple of examples of their deluded thought. Now, Michael Flynn Jr., who's the son of one of Trump's former security advisors, wrote that the left is already blaming the GOP for this. If I'm wrong, I'll own up to it, but this is a political stunt. Timing is everything, and the timing, given when the midterms are happening, is highly suspicious. While the political strategist Alec Bluzewicz wrote, this so-called hashtag MAGA bomber is the worst bomber in history. It's clearly fake. Where's any of the security footage? They were mailed with unstamped stamps. The left is so deranged that they're sending themselves bombs to try and get votes. I guess the caravan isn't working out. Now, the mailing of those bombs will become a landmark moment amongst many in this bizarre presidency that is Donald Trump's. Will they have any effect on how people vote next month? Maybe. Maybe they'll encourage the supporters of both sides to go to the polls if further encouragement were needed. That's TBC. But What it really does is it further widens the gap between the right and the left. It further polarizes and makes partisan the politics in the US. Now, people there are at the point where they can't even see the other side, let alone find common ground with them. And the rest of us have to wait and watch for what happens next. All right, let's see what else has been trending on social media. Now, this photo of a young man taken in Gaza this week has gone viral. It's being described as iconic and a picture of real-life Renaissance art. People are comparing it to the 1830 painting Liberty Leading the People by Eugène Delacroix. This was to commemorate the French Revolution. Now, Gaza has been brutally blockaded by Israel since 2007, and Palestinians demand the right to return to land they were forcibly evicted from 70 years ago. RIP Jabberman is trending on Twitter in South Africa after the death of the rapper Jabulani Tsambo. He was just 38. He's been credited with raising the profile of hip-hop in South Africa by singing in indigenous languages when most of the local artists there were imitating American styles. And Google was planning to open a startup incubator campus in the hipster haven that is Kreuzberg in Berlin, but locals were not having it. They protested, they occupied the site, and they pressured politicians and the company on social media. And Google finally relented, although they haven't admitted the protests stopped their development plans. The site will now go to 2 local charities. Now, as we know, Saudi Arabia has admitted that Jamal Khashoggi died while in their consulate in Istanbul. They blame criminals and his body has not been seen. And while we wait for details, a huge and important investor conference is going on right now in Riyadh. And at that conference, we finally heard from the de facto head of the Saudi regime, Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. And he said most of the right things about the killing of Khashoggi, a killing he has been implicated in due to some of the high-level people involved. And then he trolled the entire world with an off-color gag about kidnapping a head of state who was held in Saudi Arabia for a number of weeks earlier this year and was reportedly forced to resign.
Are we done? I just want to conclude with one thing. Prime Minister Saad is staying in the kingdom for 2 days, so I hope you don't spread rumors that he was kidnapped.
I'm totally free man.
Hilarious. And then there was the photo op between MBS and Jamal Khashoggi's son, which many have been quick to criticize. Now, a Canadian TV presenter has been posting pictures of herself during a trip to Scotland. What's wrong with that, you ask? Well, the pictures are of her and her mates hunting and posing with dead animals. Can you guess how social media responded? go around the world now for some other stories you need to know this Thursday. Junpei Yasuda is now back in Tokyo. The Japanese journalist was kidnapped in Syria back in 2015 by an al-Qaeda affiliate. He describes his time in captivity as hell and says he's not sure how he'll try and catch up with the world after 40 months spent as a hostage. In news that had many of us saying about time, Apple and Samsung have been fined by Italian authorities for deliberately slowing down older handsets to force people to buy new ones. Apple must pay €10 million, Samsung 5. That was the first time a big tech firms have been fined for this kind of practice, but probably not the last. There are similar cases going through the courts in France and in California. This is 6 tons of cocaine hidden in a shipment of bananas on Spain's Costa del Sol. The drug has a street value of $400 million. 16 people have been arrested. Pompeii is one of the world's best-known historical sites, and archaeologists there have just found some more skeletons. Now, their discovery gives greater detail of what happened when Mount Vesuvius erupted back in AD 79. The skeletons are of 2 women and 3 children, and amazingly, historians say the place they were found allowed them to more accurately date the eruption, which they now say happened in October, 2 months later than they had previously thought. Now, some clownish crooks tried to rob a store in Belgium and were foiled thanks to their dim wits and the quick thinking of the shopkeeper. And it was all caught on camera, so we can all have a good laugh.
Clairement, c'est pas à 15 h qu'on braque. C'est comme quand vous allez chez un livreur à 5 h au matin, vous allez prendre la monnaie. C'est à 18 h 30 qu'il faut me braquer. Là, tu vas me prendre 1000 balles, tu viens en sort, tu vas peut-être prendre plus. Je l'engueule en lui disant faut t'acheter une montre, 18 h 30, c'est pas 17 h 30, dégage. Et ils repartent. Le policier sort du bureau, le plaque à terre, et donc là il y a les arrestations. La police me dit monsieur, ils vont jamais revenir, c'est pas possible. Et je leur réponds je pense que oui. Je pense que oui. Ils me disent sous quel prétexte vous pensez que oui? Je suis bon vendeur, mais je pense que je suis pas sur des lumières.
Well played, Didier. And now for some animals doing stuff, we take you all the way to Antarctica. For some emperor penguin chicks taking a stroll with one adult penguin watching. And of course, because we love to anthropomorphisize every animal behavior, people have said it's like they're on a school trip with a teacher. Now, whatever they're doing, they're cute and like a real-life Happy Feet, but without the dancing. And that's all from the NewsFeed team. Reach out to me with your questions, comments, complaints, and suggestions. I'm at Kamali Melbourne. You'll find us 24/7 on Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. Follow, subscribe, and add. See you again tomorrow.